Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Who Dat Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host and fellow Who Dat, Kevin Reed, and Week 7 is upon us as the New Orleans Saints will travel to the Windy City to take on the Chicago Bears. The New Orleans Saints are coming off another loss this past week as they fell to the New England Patriots 25-19, and they are currently 1-5 on the season. The Chicago Bears, however, are 2-2 on the season. They're coming off of a big win against the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football in a game that kind of looked like the Chicago Bears have found their groove. We'll have to wait and see. But let's jump right into this. There's no point playing around. There's no point delaying. Let's jump into the main storylines of this Sunday's matchup against the Chicago Bears. We know that the New Orleans Saints are desperate for a win. It's paramount at this point. We really need to find our groove. We really need to carve out an identity as a football team and really lean to our strengths. And right now, the New Orleans Saints, they are clueless. They're just the walking dead. There's no identity. There's no structure. There's no discipline. There's no winning culture that has been set as of yet. So it comes a point in time where either you are or you aren't. And we are in week 7. Week 7, we're close to the midway point of the season, and if you haven't found your groove by now, it's not going to be found. And that's point blank, period. You can go back through all of the historical documentation of NFL football teams, and you can see that if a team has not found their identity by a certain point in the season, that team is lost. They are done. Just look around the league. Even with the poorly performing teams like New York Jets, you pretty much know what the New York Jets are about, though. Even though they can't, they're just as bad as we are record-wise. You know what the New York Jets are all about. The Miami Dolphins, you know what they're all about. But the Saints, you have no idea. Are they a run team? Are they a pass team? Are they a defensive team? What are they? You don't know. There's no identity, man. There's no fight. You look at a team like the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers, I don't know truly what they are, run team, pass team, or whatever, but I know they're a team that's desperately trying to prove themselves, and they, as they stand right now, they're 3-3 on the season, and they're horrible. And depending on who you ask, you would say the Carolina Panthers, roster-wise, coaching-wise, whatever, are worse than the New Orleans Saints. But the record doesn't say that. And so we are at week 7. And you go through these last 6 games of the season where the Saints were close. They were one catch away or one defensive stop away or whatever the case may be. The only win that they got was because not Washington, but the New York Giants decided to give them 5 turnovers in that game. And that's the only reason that we won that game. Because anybody who truly watched that game, you can't pinpoint a single thing the New Orleans Saints did to win that game, other than the fact that they were there to recover the ball or whatever the case may be. But that's neither here nor there. Here's the big storylines going. We have 2 soap opera level storylines that's going to play out Sunday afternoon. And that is, number 1, you have Spencer Rattler versus Caleb Williams. If you don't know the history here, Spencer Rattler, the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, who the majority of the Who Dat Nation feels needs to be benched for some strange, unearthly reason. Yeah, him. At one point in his college career, he was an Oklahoma Sooner. He played for Oklahoma. while he was at Oklahoma, he was in the Heisman discussion. He was talked about as being a top 10, if not top overall pick in the draft at one point for Oklahoma. Put up great numbers there. Looked awesome. I watched him. That's why when we got him in the 5th round a couple of years ago, I was shocked. But the reason we got him in the 5th round, the reason he wasn't drafted out of Oklahoma, Caleb Williams came along. Caleb Williams came and took his job. Caleb Williams became the starting quarterback of the Sooners. Spencer Rattler decided to move over to South Carolina, and the rest, as they say, is history. Caleb Williams ended up being a first-round pick. He's the leader of that franchise over there in Chicago, struggling, but he shows flashes of being that guy over there with the Bears. And you have Spencer Rattler, the man who took his job. This is an opportunity for Spencer Rattler to show that Oklahoma made a mistake. Saints fans are crying for no reason. This is the moment here for Spencer Rattler. Probably the biggest game of his career so far, because he's going up against the quarterback that stole his job in college. Not only that, he's going up against the coach that drafted him. Dennis Allen, old DA himself, is the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. Dennis Allen being the Saints head coach for 2.5 seasons, got fired midway through last season, the first coach since 1980 to be fired mid-season by the New Orleans Saints. This guy, I would imagine, has a chip on his shoulder. This guy is going to send the house. We're going to see a Dennis Allen defense like never before. And as much as I ragged on Dennis Allen, you can go back and listen, I always complimented him, always gave him his props when it came to the defense. He is an excellent defensive coordinator. Not going to take that away from him. That's what have me worried about this game, because rain, sleet, or snow, that defense is going to come to play this Sunday. And so, yeah, and you have Dennis Allen going up against the coach that replaced him, and that is none other than Kellen Moore in his offense, whatever this is. And so there's a lot of storylines here, a lot of meat on this bone going into this game. Not so much for playoff positioning, stay in the playoff hunt and all this here. No. It's pride on the line this Sunday. There's a lot of pride on the line this Sunday in Chicago. The Saints have some decisions to make in the next week. I think the trade deadline is next week, and there's been a lot of talks, a lot of rumors about Alvin Kamara, about Chris Olave, even about Rashid Shaheed, and a number of other players. And friends of mine have asked me what are my thoughts on these rumors and whatnot. My answer to that was, I hope they're all true. You know, at this point, it's all right. I love Alvin Kamara, and I hope and pray that Alvin Kamara retires a New Orleans Saint. I really do. But at this point, this team needs so much. And he is truly the most valuable player that we have, that we can get a lot of capital for. I wouldn't be mad at it. Yes, I'll be hurt. I'll be disappointed that he's gone. But I you got to think about the Florida Leafs. I got to think about the black and gold as opposed to a player, being attached to a player. I'm in love with this franchise. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind it, but he has vehemently said that he is not going anywhere. He does not want to go anywhere. If he is traded, he'll retire. That's how loyal he is to this franchise, and that is one of the main reasons I love Alvin Kamara. because he loves this franchise. Saint, you do realize the Saints don't pay him nothing. He is not up there with the upper echelons of running backs in this league that he deserves to be, but he doesn't sweat that. It's not about the money for Alvin Kamara. He just wants to be here. You know, Alvin Kamara, he's doing well. Don't act like it's not like Alvin Kamara is hurting for money. He has his tentacles in a lot of business ventures. You know, he is very smart with his money. And so he's all right. That's why he never sweat about the money. But it was more about the longevity here. I feel him, and I don't want him to go. But if we get a nice, tasty offer, I wouldn't shy away from it. Chris Olave, yes. There's nothing else to talk about there. Yes. Because it's nothing but beneficial to the New Orleans Saints to trade Chris Olave. Once again, this ain't no Chris Olave hate. This is just business. And the business aspect of it is Chris Olave contract year. You're not going to pay him Justin Jefferson money. You're not going to pay him Chase Young. Not Chase Young. Jamal Chase Young. I keep saying Young. Dude living rent free in my head. That's how much I'm frustrated with him. But we'll get to him later. But Jamal Chase money. But he's going to demand some money due to him being a first round pick and whatnot. He hasn't shown it. He hasn't shown that he is worthy of a big contract. So it doesn't make sense for the Saints to keep him and pay him a boatload of money, all while you have Shadeed's contract coming up too. You know, so you really is a Sophie's choice here where who you're gonna pay. There's more value in Shadeed, in my humble opinion, than it is of Chris Olave. Now, once again, if there's a way you can keep Chris Olave on the cheap, I wouldn't be mad. But at the same time, if you get a tasty offer, and the Saints need some draft capital here, because remember, we traded away a couple of our picks from next year's draft for dumb reasons, and so we need players. We need to stockpile picks. 9 times out of 10, we're going to be picking in the top 3 anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But we need more picks, you know, because we need more players. There's way too many holes to fill in this team. As far as anybody else is concerned, nobody's off the table in my eyes. Nobody. I mean, nobody. There's nobody I would say, well, no, he's off limits. You could look at anybody else, but no, he's off limits. No. Nah, there's nobody off limits at this point because, well, I take that back. The young players, like these freshly drafted players, sure, yeah, I'll keep them, you know, give them time to develop. But outside of that, yeah. You can go ahead and put them on a chopping block. I would not be mad at that at all. But anywho's, let's go around this division. The division is is almost locked up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Tampa Bay is 5-1. Atlanta is 3-2. Carolina is 3-3, and we are a tasty 1-5. Carolina this week, they play the New York Jets, who haven't won a game yet. So, hey, it's a possibility they can move above 500 this week. You have Atlanta, who will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers this week. I don't know. Atlanta shocked me last week, so I don't know how to pick them. But Tampa will be playing Detroit on Monday night. I think that's going to be one heck of a game. I'm looking forward to that game. But either way it goes, they can all lose. All 3 of them can lose, and they're still in good positions as far as staying ahead of the Saints. They'll be all right in that regard. It's only one game that separates all 3 of those teams, so they're in a race with each other, whereas we're the odd man out right now. We need everybody to collapse in order to have a snowball's chance in hell to be considered for a division title. We need to throw that out our head. Just let it go. Because I've had conversations with friends of mine. Man, we're still in the hunt. We're not too far. We're only 2 games behind. The season is still no. Let it go, people. Let it go. We're 2 games behind the next the third place in this division, and we haven't played a division game yet. Do you realize we haven't played now one of these teams yet? That's the messed up part, and we're this far behind. Let it go. Just forget about it. Let's focus on the Chicago Bears this week. Beat the Bears, then we might can have a conversation about it, maybe. But right now, nah, let it go. But this week, once again, we play the Bears. And as far as league rankings are concerned, the Saints are, like I said, 1-5. Bears are 3-2. The Saints are 28th in scoring average in the league. The Bears are 10th in scoring average. Opponent scoring average, the Saints are 25th. The Bears, 12th. Total offense, Saints are 24th. The Bears are 14th. Rushing offense, Saints are 19th in the league. The Bears, right above them at 18th in the league. Passing offense, Saints are 22nd. Bears are 11th. Total defense. Now, this is a surprise to me. Saints actually have a better defense than the Bears as far as the rankings are concerned. Saints are 18th in the league, whereas the Bears are 27th. Now, the numbers are kind of misconstrued because they did give up a lot early on. Last week, the Bears defense looked pretty decent. But I'm actually shocked that the Bears defense are that low. I shouldn't be, but I am. Turnover margin, Saints are 6th in the league with a +4, and the Bears are 1st in the league in turnover margin with a +8. Season leaders for both teams, beginning with passing, Spencer Rattler, 139 of 203 pass attempts. That's a completion percentage of 68.5, by the way. 1,217 yards of passings, 6 touchdowns, and only 1 interception this season. For the Chicago Bears, you have Caleb Williams, 98 of 189, 1,179 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Leading rusher for the New Orleans Saints is Alvin Kamara, 83 rushes for 314 yards and 1 touchdown. For the Chicago Bears, Swift, he has 70 carries for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. Leading receiver for the New Orleans Saints is Chris Olave, 39 catches for 342 yards and 1 touchdown. For the Chicago Bears, Rome Odunze, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name wrong. We'll know it Sunday. 22 catches, 328 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Leading in sacks for both teams, Carl Granderson for the New Orleans Saints. He has 4.5 sacks. For the Chicago Bears, Gavon Dexter Sr. with 2.5 sacks. Leading tackler, Demario Davis with 52 for the Saints, and for the Chicago Bears, Tremaine Edmonds with 52 tackles on the season. Let's go over this week's injury report. This is the final injury report of the week. This is what we're going into the game with. The Saints have 6 players listed on the injury report, and nobody has been officially ruled out, but we do have 2 questionables this week, and that is Isaac Yeldon, still dealing with that hamstring injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he was limited on Thursday and was a full participant on Friday. He is questionable for Sunday's matchup, and he can rest another week. He can. No point rushing him back. And our second questionable player is John Widgway III. As you know, he was on injured reserve. He was taken off of injured reserve last week. I think the same week as Taysom Hill and Foster Monroe, but he hasn't made his debut as of yet. But he has been upgraded to questionable. He was a full participant all week, so fingers crossed there. We need help at defensive tackle, so that should be an improve. An improvement. Hopefully, we shall see. Also on the injured list, who doesn't have any designation per se, but you have Alvin Kamara. He was dealing with an ankle injury, and I could tell that in last week's game he was a little hobbled, but he was a full participant on Friday. Chris Olave with a hip injury. He was a full participant on Friday. I don't know where he hurt his hip, but at least it wasn't his head. We'll thank God for that. Alante Taylor had a knee injury, but he was a full participant. And Devin Gotro, he was just rest. They rest him until Fridays. I don't know why, but he is fully ready to go. For the Chicago Bears, however, they have a few players who are on their injury report, a few questionables, and two who have been ruled out of Sunday's game, beginning with their kicker. What's his name? Charo Santos. He has a right thigh injury. He's out. They don't have a kicker. I'm pretty sure they brought somebody else in, but their main guy is out as far as kicker. And Noel Sewell, their linebacker, out with a concussion. If you don't know, Saints linebacker Neil Sewell is his brother, younger brother. So we don't see brother versus brother this week because the older brother will be out for the Chicago Bears. They're questionable players. You have Grady Jarrett is questionable for Sunday's matchup, as well as defensive lineman Austin Booker, Travis Horner, their running back is questionable, and DeAndre Swift, I should say, their running back with a groin injury. He is questionable. I don't know. I don't think he's going to get much playing time, if any. But we'll see. We'll see about that. Saints have problems all across the field. I really don't know what keys we can kind of focus on because defensively, oh man, my God, bro, the Saints defense looks horrendous out there. Offensively, we just can't get nothing in the end zone. Yeah, we can move the ball up and down the field, but it's like we hit the quarantine area when we get to the 20. We can't get it in the end zone. And so I don't know what keys to really focus on, but I know the most entertaining for me personally will be the Saints offense versus the Chicago Bears defense this Sunday. Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints offense took a step back last week versus New England. While the Saints aren't the absolute worst in the league, the New Orleans Saints are at least one of the only 5 offenses averaging less than 20 points a game. We can't break past 20. And they're the only team in the NFC within that group and subsequently have the worst record in the conference because of this result. One bright spot for the offense is that they are, for the most part, a healthy group. And that's one good thing we can kind of hopefully keep going for us. We don't have any major injuries on offense, but that's saying a lot too. Because we have all our healthy players and we still can't score 20 points in a game. But moving on. Of the players listed inactive last Sunday, only 2 offensive linemen came from that side of the ball. And so we go in this week, everybody is fully healthy and available. The major addition to the New Orleans Saints offense is all around Superman football guy Taysom Hill. He's back, but he only played 1 play last week, at least on offense, and that was when he scored that touchdown. But other than that, he was not involved in the offense, which is a head scratcher. being as though we struggling. When you're struggling like that, you need a spark, and that spark is, in my humble opinion, Taysom Hill. Now, like I said before, it isn't all doom and gloom because the Saints have actually done an excellent job of protecting the ball so far this season. Through 6 weeks, we haven't turned the ball over, even though many of their possessions resulted in absolutely nothing. Um, Points wise, they have not turned the ball over. Uh, I think only 4 times this season we turned the ball over. But in most of that, the majority of that was in that Seattle game. But aside from that, Saints have not turned the ball over, and they just can't score. That's the frustrating part watching them. Suppose they can avoid turning the ball over against this greedy Chicago Bears defense, which is tied for best turnover differential in the league. We just went over that a few minutes ago. Um, in that case, the Saints will have a strong opportunity to go on the road and play another competitive contest. If the New Orleans Saints can turn some of those 3-point field goal kicks into 7 points, we're talking different now. We're holding a different conversation going into this week, especially record wise, because I know for a fact at least 2 games we could have won if we were able to capitalize in the red zone. But coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yeah, the Bears defense, yeah, they are all right, but at the same time, we play better defenses this season. Arizona has a real good defense. The Giants have a decent defense. New England has a real good defense, and the Saints were able to move the ball on these teams. They were able to do what they wanted to do on these teams. They just can't be consistent, and they need to be more consistent. Continue to be stingy with the ball as far as turnovers are concerned, and find a way to get in the end zone. Incorporate the run game a little more. Get Alvin Kamara involved a little more. If the run isn't there, try some screen passes. They do not run screens. They do not run screens in this offense. And I think that's the most deadliest weapon for Alvin Kamara that we don't exploit. And it's a head scratcher because Kellen Moore and his offenses, you go back to Dallas, you could go to Philly, they run screen passes. They have plays designed for this, but not here. And you have the personnel to run those plays. Now, is it that Spencer Rattler can't do it, can't run those plays? It's a strong possibility. I'm not at practice, so that is a possibility. But I'll have to see it on the field. Okay, it's different. Okay, you can't run it in practice. Let's try it at least once or twice on the field. Let me determine if he can't do it or not. But on the other side of the ball, I really have no notes there. There's nothing really to say there. Defense just got to get better. They got to get better. It's the secondary. Well, let me say this. Everybody's harping on Kool-Aid and Alante Taylor and our safeties and whatnot. Do y'all watch the game? Everybody that's saying all this, do you watch the game? Now, are they playing the best? No, they're not. No, they are not. But ask yourself the question. How is that defensive line doing? Are they getting pressure? The answer to that is no. I'm looking at games where Drake May was just sitting back there. Drake May had 4 or 5 seconds just sitting back there, patting the ball. And same thing with Jackson Dart the week before. The same thing with what's old boy in Seattle? Can't think his name. But whatever. Matt Jones when we played the 49ers. Same thing. They're just sitting back there. You expect a cornerback. I don't care if it was Darrelle Revis. I don't care if it was Deion Sanders. You expect a cornerback to cover a receiver for 5 or 6 seconds? Because that's what's happening. That's the reason why those corners can't keep up. Now, do they make bonehead big plays, blown coverage plays? Yes, they do. I'm not 100% exonerating them from this. No, they are playing horrible too. But I am saying at times it's not all on them. You need to put blame where it's due. And obviously, if the quarterback is sitting back there looking, and can't find nobody, they're doing their job until finally something breaks free, because you're running around trying to catch a chicken with his head cut off and you can't cover. That's how that happens. That's how football works, people. And so everybody that's spitting this venom at Kool-Aid and Quincy Riley and Justin Reed and all these other guys, Alontae Taylor, just think now. Just think you asking them to do superhero level coverage because our defensive line is not doing their job. The defensive line needs to step it up. Our linebackers need to step it up, as well as our corners and safeties as well. Yes, it is a total defensive letdown, and I am super, super disappointed with this defense. Words can't express my levels of disappointment when it comes to this defense. All three levels suck. All three levels. Demario Davis, love him to death. It is over. You are past your prime. You have lost not one but 2 steps. You've lost it, man. And it pains me to see him like this, because he is one of the best linebackers to play in this league. At his peak, he was one of the best. He was just unfortunately on a New Orleans Saints team. But he would have been considered up there with one of the best linebackers in the league. That's how much of a beast he was. But Father Time, people. Cam Jordan, speaking of Father Time, it's over. It's over. Cam has been lost a step. Let's be honest, people. He been lost a step. But we're still playing around. Now, I will say this. The New Orleans Saints have been trying for years to find a replacement, but they can't find one. They tried with Marcus Davenport. They tried with what's the guy? We just got rid of him. Is it Turner? I can't even remember his name because he couldn't get on the field. Isaac Forsky and all these other. They've tried, and it just crashed and burned. I don't know why we can't pick a pass rusher to save our life. We can't even sign one from free agency, a la Chase Young, and it just doesn't work out. So now the defensive tackles, the DN's been working their behinds off. Now Carl Granderson has been working. I know he ain't a DN, but I want to give credit where credit's due with him. I see him week in, week out play his behind off. So I want to give him his propers. Unfortunately, nobody else come along with him, with the exception of Brian Brzee. Occasionally you hear his name pop up. As far as the linebacker, I already talked on Davis, but Pete Warner, another disappointment. Pete Warner, I'm ready to move on from that too. I'm ready because he's a liability in coverage. He doesn't come up, play the run. I mean, it's all three phases of defense need some help, and I don't even know where to start when it comes to that side of the ball. But went over the injury report. You saw that the Chicago Bears are hurting on that side of the ball. Well, everywhere, to be honest with you. But you know, I still think I never was a Caleb Williams guy, to be honest with you. I didn't see what people saw in him because they were comparing him to Patrick Mahomes in the draft. I don't see that. I don't know what everybody else was looking at, but I didn't see that. But he'll give you a game or two. Yeah, he looked good last week, but the problem with Caleb Williams, he's not consistent. He can't give you that each and every week. Hopefully this is his off week, for the Saints' sake. but we'll see. We know that Dennis Allen's defense is been or break. We've experienced it for about 20 years here in the past. It's been don't break type defense. We have to break it. They're going to allow you to move up the field, but their goal is to force you to kick field goals. That's Dennis Allen's philosophy. But we have to make them pay. I think the Saints can win this game, but I'm gonna stick to my promise that I made last week. That if the Saints lost that game last week, I would not pick them again this season. So I'm gonna stick to that promise. I'm not picking them to win, but they can. They can win every week, but I just don't have any faith that they can do it unless I see change. And right now, this is the sheer definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and hoping to get a different result each time. It's mind-boggling to me. But that's what we got this Sunday in Chicago as the New Orleans Saints travel to play the Bears. This 12 noon. This should be a good game though. I think the Saints will put up a fight, because there's a lot of emotion that's going to be involved, with DA and Spencer versus Caleb and all this here. It's going to be some emotion involved. You got Chicago coming off a big win. Some may say an upset. And, the Saints can take advantage of the fact that they're coming off a short week as well. I wanted to make that point too because they just played Monday night. So they had one less day to prepare for this game. But it don't take much to prepare for when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. But that's besides the point. But I would like to know, what do you think is going to go down in the Windy City this Sunday afternoon? Do you think the Saints can get their second win of the season, or do you think that we're going to continue our losing ways and fall in Chicago? I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Who That Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this preview of the Week 7 matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears. As always, I will be back after Sunday's game to review maybe a Saints victory or maybe another loss. We shall see. But either way, I'm still going to be screaming to the top of my lungs, "Who dat?"